Listen to me carefully. When someone starts pulling away from you, your first instinct is to chase, to lessen, to overthink, and to blame yourself. But let me tell you something powerful right now. His distance is not your signal to lose yourself. It is your signal to find yourself. Sometimes silence reveals what words never could. Sometimes distance exposes what closeness was hiding. And sometimes being ignored is life's way of redirecting your heart towards something better. So if a man distances himself from you and ignores you, don't panic, don't break, don't beg, stand tall, because this moment can either weaken you or awaken you. The first thing you must understand when a man begins to distance himself is that your immediate reaction will often come from fear, not wisdom. Fear tells you to chase. Fear tells you to send another message, make another call, ask more questions, and fight harder for his attention. But in moments like these, chasing what is already moving away only pushes it further out of reach. The more you run after someone who is creating space, the more you risk losing your own sense of peace, confidence, and self-respect. Real strength is not found in pursuit. It is found in restraint. When someone starts pulling back, it can feel personal. Your mind may start racing with questions. You begin wondering if you said something wrong, if you were not enough, or if there is something you should change about yourself. But constantly chasing answers from someone who has chosen distance rarely brings clarity. Instead, it often leads to emotional exhaustion. The truth is simple. When a person truly values your presence, they make an effort to maintain connection. Genuine interest does not need to be forced. Chasing also creates an unhealthy imbalance in the relationship. It sends the message that no matter how little effort the other person gives, you will keep showing up, keep trying, and keep sacrificing your own emotional stability. Over time, this can make you feel less valued and more anxious. Love, respect, and connection should flow both ways. If one person is doing all the work while the other withdraws, that is not balance. It is emotional burden. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back and allow silence to reveal the truth. Distance has a way of exposing intentions. If he truly cares, he will notice your absence and make the effort to reconnect. If he does not, then you have learned something important without having to beg for honesty. Silence can often speak louder than repeated conversations. Choosing not to chase is not about pride. It is about self-worth. It means recognizing that your value does not decrease because someone else fails to see it in the moment. You do not need to prove your worth through constant effort. The right connection will never require you to run after it endlessly. Sometimes stepping back is not losing someone, it is protecting yourself from losing who you are. The moment you stop chasing what is pulling away, you begin reclaiming your power, your dignity, and your peace. Silence is never empty. When a man begins to ignore you or distance himself, his silence is often saying more than words ever could. Many people make the mistake of focusing only on what is not being said, but the real message lies in the absence itself. A delayed reply, a lack of effort, emotional coldness, or repeated excuses all communicate something important. Silence is information, and if you are willing to listen carefully, it can reveal the truth of the situation. One of the hardest things to accept is that people often show their intentions through actions long before they speak them aloud. Words can be comforting, promises can sound convincing, but behavior always tells the deeper story. If someone truly values your presence, they make time for you, check in on you, and show consistency. When that effort suddenly disappears, it is not something to ignore. His silence may be revealing confusion, emotional unavailability, loss of interest, personal struggles, or a lack of seriousness about the relationship. Whatever the reason, The silence itself carries meaning. Too often, people fill in the gaps with excuses on behalf of the other person. They tell themselves he is just busy, stressed, or going through something difficult. While those things may be true, consistent silence without communication still sends a message. A person who genuinely cares will usually find some way to communicate, even during difficult times. Effort does not always require long conversations. Sometimes it is simply a short message that says, I need space right now, but I still care. When even that is absent, it is important to pay attention. Silence also gives you a chance to step out of emotional confusion and observe reality. Instead of clinging to hope based on what was said in the past, look at what is happening in the present. His actions today tell you more than old promises ever can. Sometimes silence is not meant to hurt you. Sometimes it is revealing what you need to know so you can protect your heart. The power lies in how you respond. Rather than chasing explanations or forcing conversation, allow the silence to teach you. It can show you whether the connection is mutual or one-sided. It can reveal whether someone truly values your presence or simply enjoyed your availability. When you understand that silence is information, you stop being trapped by uncertainty and start seeing the truth more clearly. In many cases, what hurts the most also provides the clearest lesson. People show you where you stand by the effort they are willing to make. One of the most important truths to understand when a man distances himself from you is that his actions do not define your worth. Too often, when someone begins to pull away, people automatically internalize it as a reflection of their value, asking themselves if they are not enough, if they have done something wrong, or if there is something fundamentally flawed about who they are. This is a trap. Someone else's inability or unwillingness to show up for you says nothing about your worth. It only reveals their choices and priorities. Your value is inherent, unshakable, and independent of how someone else treats you. It is easy to fall into the mindset that love or attention must be earned, but the reality is that those who genuinely care for you will naturally make the effort to be present. When distance appears, it can feel personal, but you have to recognize that it is not always about you. It may reflect their own insecurities, distractions, or lack of readiness for a meaningful connection. The moment you start believing that their withdrawal diminishes your value, you give away the power to define yourself, and that is exactly what distance is trying to test. Your self-perception is the foundation of your emotional resilience. When you allow someone else's behavior to dictate how you feel about yourself, you hand them control over your happiness. The truth is, the right person will never force you to prove your worth through chasing, questioning, or over-apologizing. Their consistency, attention, and respect will speak louder than any reassurances you attempt to extract from them. You are not defined by their interest or lack thereof. You are defined by the love, respect, and confidence you carry for yourself. Maintaining perspective is crucial. When someone distances themselves rather than spiraling into self-doubt, use it as a mirror to reflect on your own strength and self-respect. Understand that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable resources that deserve to be reciprocated. If the other person cannot meet you at that level, it is a clear signal that the imbalance is theirs, not yours. The more you anchor your sense of worth internally, the less any outside behavior can destabilize you. Recognizing that someone's distance does not make you less worthy allows you to remain grounded, confident, and centered. You no longer feel desperate for explanations, validations, or attention. Instead, you cultivate the clarity and dignity to make choices that honor yourself. When you fully embrace this mindset, you see that your value is unchanging, your peace is intact, and your heart remains strong regardless of who stays or goes. When a man distances himself or begins to ignore you, it can feel like the world has shifted beneath your feet. But the S is precisely the moment to turn inward and use the situation as an opportunity to grow stronger. Pain, rejection, and distance are uncomfortable, yes, but they are also powerful teachers. Instead of allowing yourself to spiral into anxiety, overthinking, or self blame, choose to redirect your energy toward building yourself, your confidence, your clarity, and your inner strength. This is the time to reclaim your power rather than surrender it to someone else's absence. Growth begins with perspective. When someone pulls away, it forces you to look at the relationship objectively. You begin to see patterns that you may have overlooked before. How much effort was truly reciprocated, whether boundaries were respected, and if emotional support flowed both ways. This is a moment to acknowledge reality rather than live in illusion. Understanding that distance is revealing truth gives you the chance to make decisions that protect your heart rather than acting out of desperation or fear of loss. This is also the moment to prioritize your own development. Engage in activities that fulfill you, build skills that elevate you, and surround yourself with people who genuinely uplift you. When you focus on improving your own life, your energy shifts from worry about someone else's choices to empowerment over your own. Strength is built not in comfort, but in adversity. The more you cultivate your own sense of worth and joy, the less dependent you become on external validation or attention. Distance also teaches patience and self-restraint. It is tempting to respond impulsively with messages, calls, or attempts to provoke a reaction, but resisting that urge demonstrates maturity and control. It shows that you are not defined by the presence or absence of someone else. By using distance as a tool for reflection and self-improvement, you shift from being reactive to being proactive. You are no longer chasing what is pulling away. You are growing into a version of yourself that cannot be shaken by inconsistency. Finally, this growth creates clarity. As you strengthen your mind, heart, and self-respect, it becomes easier to see whether the connection is worth continuing or whether it is time to release it. What once felt like rejection begins to feel like preparation, a chance to step into your next level of emotional intelligence and resilience. Distance, when approached with the right mindset, does not weaken you, it fortifies you, equips you with lessons, and positions you to attract relationships that are mutual, respectful, and deeply aligned with who you are. Feelings are powerful, but they are not always reliable guides, especially when someone begins to distance themselves from you. Your emotions may scream at you to chase, to explain, to apologize, or to beg for attention, but acting solely on feelings can often lead to regret. Self-respect, on the other hand, is a conscious choice. It is the understanding that no matter how strong your emotions are, your dignity and boundaries come first. When a man withdraws or ignores you, the most important response is not to give in to fear or desire. It is to uphold your self-respect above everything else. Many people make the mistake of thinking that love justifies compromising their boundaries. Many people make the mistake of thinking that love justifies compromising their boundaries. They endure humiliation, make excuses for someone else's behavior, and tolerate inconsistency because they hope that by clinging harder, the person will return. But love that requires desperation is not love. It is imbalance. True connection is never built on pleading or fear. It is built on mutual respect, effort, and care. By respecting yourself first, you communicate to both yourself and the world that your presence is valuable, your time is precious, and your emotions are not to be toyed with. Self-respect also protects your emotional energy. When someone distances themselves, it can feel like a test, and often it is. Will you shrink, chase, or beg to keep someone in your life? Or will you stand firm in your worth, refusing to settle for less than you deserve. The choice you make in these moments determines not just the outcome of a relationship, but your own emotional resilience. Choosing self respect over immediate gratification is difficult, but it is the choice that preserves your peace, strengthens your confidence, and positions you to attract the kind of love that is genuine and consistent. Boundaries are the practical expression of self respect. They tell others how you allow yourself to be treated, and they remind you that your feelings, time, and energy are not negotiable. When a man ignores you or pulls away, your first instinct might be to lower those boundaries in hopes of restoring connection, but doing so only undermines your value. Instead, holding firm demonstrates that your respect for yourself is non negotiable. Ultimately, respecting yourself more than your feelings transforms the entire dynamic. You no longer react out of fear, longing, or insecurity. You act from a place of strength, clarity, and self worth. You allow the situation to reveal itself without compromising who you are. The stronger your respect for yourself, the less power someone else's distance has over your emotions, and the more you ensure that whatever relationship continues will honor both your heart and your dignity. When a man distances himself or begins to ignore you, it can feel painful and confusing, but it is essential to understand that sometimes what leaves creates space for what truly belongs in your life. Not everyone who comes close to your heart is meant to stay, and that is not a reflection of your worth. Some people enter your life to teach you lessons, to you your strength, or to help you recognize what you truly deserve. When someone pulls away, it is an opportunity to make room for clarity, growth, and the kind of connection that is mutually nourishing and aligned with your highest good. It is natural to want to fill that space immediately with explanations, hope, or attempts to bring the person back. However, forcing closeness or holding on to someone who is not present drains your energy, clouds your judgment, and prevents you from seeing the truth. Distance, while uncomfortable, acts as a mirror that reflects reality. It shows you whether a relationship is balanced, whether respect and effort are reciprocated, and whether your heart is being valued in the way it deserves. Understanding this allows you to step back with wisdom rather than reacting from fear or attachment. When someone leaves, it is not always about rejection. Sometimes it is redirection. Sometimes it is redirection. The space they leave behind is not empty. It is an opportunity for you to focus on yourself, to nurture your goals, passions, and emotional well-being. It is a chance to strengthen your self-confidence, redefine your boundaries, and prepare your heart for a connection that truly aligns with who you are. What's meant for you will always circle back. What feels like loss can actually be the first step toward the life and love that were meant for you all along. This perspective also helps you release desperation and control. Holding on to someone who is inconsistent or unavailable only prolongs frustration and uncertainty. Allowing space demonstrates self-respect, patience, and the wisdom to prioritize relationships that are healthy and reciprocal. It is through this patience that the right people and opportunities naturally gravitate towards you, filling your life with presence rather than absence, clarity rather than confusion, and love rather than longing. Ultimately, when someone distances themselves, said Bebe, it not as a failure or a personal deficiency, but as a necessary clearing in your life. The right relationships are never forced. They flow naturally, consistently, and respectfully. What leaves often makes way for what belongs. And recognizing this truth allows you to navigate loss with grace, embrace your own growth, and trust that your heart will always have space for what is truly meant for you. The distance, while painful at first, becomes a gift of perspective, preparation, and self discovery. So if he distances himself and ignores you, let this be the moment you rise. Do not shrink. Do not beg. Do not lose yourself. Sometimes the greatest comeback is your silence, your strength, and your refusal to settle for less than you deserve. Remember this: the right love brings clarity, not confusion, presence, not distance, peace, not pain. Stand strong, know your worth, and never forget who you are.